Docker Enterprise is the only platform that provides a seamless experience for developing and scaling distributed applications. Docker Enterprise 3.0 adds a number of new features that extend the Docker Enterprise platform leadership as the best and simplest platform for all your applications. Let's start with the desktop. To increase the velocity of application delivery and help organizations create new digital experiences, the Docker Enterprise platform now extends all the way to the developers' desktops with the new Docker Desktop Enterprise. Application templates make it easy to get started without knowing a single Docker engine command. As you see here, I have both multi-service applications as well as single service templates that I can use within Docker Desktop. For now, I'm using a single service React template and creating a very simple application. Docker Desktop Enterprise integrates with developers' existing preferred tools instead of trying to force a specific set of tools or development patterns. Here, I've scaffolded my React application, and then I open it in Visual Studio Code and I make a few minor adjustments. And then I can refresh the page locally and see my changes instantly, even though all of this is running in containers in the background. To further ensure applications can be delivered reliably to production, Docker Desktop Enterprise uses version packs to keep the developer desktop in sync with production. Here, I've just switched from the Docker Enterprise 2.1 version of the Docker engine and Kubernetes over to the Docker Enterprise 3.0 version with the latest Docker engine and Kubernetes 1.14. Docker Desktop Enterprise includes a number of other features in addition to the ones we've seen here, so be sure to check out the full demo video for Docker Desktop Enterprise. In Docker Enterprise 3.0, we also wanted to improve the handoff once developers are done and ready to commit their code. One of the challenges with this is that it's difficult to fully replicate all the production requirements and standards on a developer's desktop. As you can see here, I've got a Docker app. This is my simple React service again. In this case, by default, it wants to use port 8080, which is probably fine on the developer's desktop. But in production, port 8080 is blocked and reserved for other use cases. So I need to use a different port in my production environment than I use on my desktop. With Docker Apps, I can easily make this change on the fly without editing the compose files and saving them as a different version that's very specific to this particular deployment. The other thing I can do with apps that you see here is I can install an app to both Swarm and Kubernetes. So in the first case, I've deployed my app to the Swarm orchestrator in my cluster. And here in the second case, I'm using Kubernetes as my orchestrator. And I have both instances of the app running side by side in my UCP cluster. And because Docker apps can bundle multiple containers in the compose file together, they can be stored in registries like Docker Hub and Docker Trusted Registry. You can scan them for vulnerabilities and check them for authenticity the same way you would scan and check an individual container image. Further, because they're based on the CNAB specification, which is an open standard backed by several other industry players, including Microsoft, Docker apps can be compatible with a number of other infrastructure and application types beyond just containers and Kubernetes. On the production side, for Docker Enterprise clusters managed by UCP, we've also added key new capabilities. To start, we've made it simpler than ever to deploy and manage your Docker Enterprise clusters. The new Docker cluster commands enable you to treat your clusters as code and help automate deployments. Docker Cluster is based on Docker certified infrastructure that was launched last year for AWS, Azure, and vSphere environments. And it's now an automated tool using a declarative model, so you can source control your cluster configurations. Speaking of upgrades and lifecycle, routine operations like cluster upgrades and backups are now simpler in Docker Enterprise 3.0. You can use the Docker cluster command or other methods to perform blue-green cluster upgrades and to perform hot backups, helping you improve the reliability of the Docker platform and reduce the risk of unplanned downtime. There are many other new features and capabilities available in Docker Enterprise 3.0. So download a free trial today from docker.com.